Hello and good morning. Welcome to another episode of Economic Review, where we talk about prevalent economic and political issues facing Sri Lanka and the world. I'm Devapriya and I'm joined here by, as usual, Rumeth Jayasinghe. Last week was a very eventful and consequential week, not because of anything else, but because of the US election. As expected by many, but not predicted by some, Donald Trump won the election and is now the president elect of the United States, soon to be the 47th president of that country. He won not just the electoral colleges, but also the popular vote by well more than 5 million, trumping, pardon the pun, expectations that he would not be able to beat Kamala Harris at the game of winning the top slot on the world stage. One of the charges that Hillary Clinton, the then presidential candidate from the Democratic Party, and her supporters put against Donald Trump was that he was unable to win the popular vote. But this time, he has squared the circle. With me to discuss both the US election and the upcoming Sri Lanka parliamentary election is Rumeth. Rumeth, can you give us a bit of a post mortem on the US election, what it means
Yes,
for the US economy and possibly the world?
yes, Uditha, and hello, and thank you Uditha, for having me again. So, yes, the elections winded up last week, and as every media outlet described that this was a tight race, it was not a tight race as people thought, and also the media outlets predicted. It was a clean sweep by Donald Trump and the Republican Party, especially how he won the popular vote and as well as the electoral college, the Senate and the Congress, and they are on their way to win the House as well. They haven't won it yet, but it's widely expected that they are going to win. Yes, so Kamala Harris underperformed in many aspects. She was expected to perform well in certain areas, but that didn't materialize. Trump, on the other hand, he did well, especially on battleground states like Wisconsin, Michigan, which was widely expected to be won by Kamala Harris, but Trump pulled it off. He won all these seven battleground states. And the special thing about this is that he performed really well, especially with regard to the minority voters. Actually, the Hispanics, he was up by 27% compared to the 2020 election, and also he was up by close to 7 to 8% with Asian Americans as well as the Arab American voters. So it was a clear reflection that the Americans were really upset about the system that is still prevalent in the United States. They wanted something new, and they see that Donald Trump's comeback is seen as America's comeback as well. This was reflected by Vivek Ramaswamy on Tucker Carlson's show. So yes, it's a clean sweep and a magnificent victory by Donald Trump. So he has already started his work. He has had meetings, he has had greetings by other world leaders as well, and he has talked with other leaders as well. So he has done major appointments so far. So today morning I saw that he has appointed Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk as the chiefs of DOGE. That means Department of Government Efficiency, I think. And also he's planning to appoint Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, he's a popular character within the GOP as the U.S. Secretary of State. So yes, he has done the necessary things for the first few days, but the bigger picture is still yet to come. So we have to wait and see.
How do you think this will play out on the world stage? Like Trump portrayed himself as the anti war candidate, but clearly
Yeah.
he's appointing some people who are known for their very hawkish positions. We are talking about Marco Rubio. We are talking about his appointment for, for instance, the the US ambassador to the UN. What
Yeah.
do you think drives this sort of contradiction between what he said versus some of the people that he's appointing? Is it that they have fallen in line with his vision, or is it that he's falling in line with theirs?
He's falling in line with his vision. He has, during the campaign, he has said that he has promised certain things that he's going to do these things within the first, usually during the transition period of the president-elect. But now I don't think there's a major shift on what he has promised. Yes, some names, now it was Mike Pompeo was expected to be nominated as one of the positions of Trump's administration, but now he has said that he is not going to abet Mike Pompeo and also Nikki Haley to his administration. but certain GOP followers have expected this, that by Pompeo not to be in his administration. Nikki Haley was already out because Nikki Haley was at first she was contesting against Trump during the GOP primaries. Now she is not part of the Trump's administration as well. So I don't think it's a major shift from what he has said. But again, still we are only seeing the appointments, but we haven't seen the clear, bigger picture yet. So today I think he is expected to have a meeting with Joe Biden as well. So we will get some insights into how they are going to do this transition peacefully and also accordingly. And on a global side, I think how the market has reacted reflects Trump's victory. Every stock market, I mean most of the stock markets, especially Dow Jones and the S&P 500, they perform exceptionally well. Bitcoin reached $89,000 yesterday. It was an all-time high. Now it's down, but it was an all-time high by yesterday. And also the world markets around the globe, and they have reacted positively for Donald Trump's victory, except the markets in Europe because they are expecting hardship, I mean tough tariffs on their imports to the United States. So yes, on an economic front, I think it's a positive thing, except for maybe 2 or 3 countries. But on a military front, I don't. He hasn't mentioned anything about the Gaza war nor the Ukraine war. So we have to wait and see. But he has already said that he will not fund the Ukraine war unless the Europeans fund actually European countries fund 2% of their GDP to the Ukraine war as well.
Well, I mean, there's a transition taking place in the US, and there's also a bit of a transition taking place in Sri Lanka. We'll be facing elections tomorrow, November 14th, and then we'll know the results of the election by November 15th, the night of November 15th. Obviously, the president has been whoever wins the presidential election, his or her party almost always, there have been one or two exceptions, but they win majorities. By majorities, it can be a simple or an absolute. So how do you see those dynamics play out in Sri Lanka over the next 2 days, the next 48 hours?
I think this is one of the most silent, I mean, the least contested election that we have had in recent history, and also if you take duration between the presidential and the general election, I think this was the not the longest but the smallest election that we've had in recent history. So yes, just 1 month and yeah, close to 1 month gap between the presidential election and the general elections. And now I don't think there will be a major shift from the outcome that we had in the presidential election. It's widely expected now. Everyone knows that NPP will win this election, and they are expected to win at least 130, close to 130 seats in the government. But the picture that we have to concentrate on is that how the opposition is going to play out in this election. How HJB, they have cemented themselves as the main opposition party, but what is yet to be seen is whether they are going to get at least 70 to 80 seats in the parliament, or will the gas cylinder, that is New Democratic Fund, will they pose a great challenge to SAB and win at least 25 to 30 seats. So we don't know how this is going to play out, but certainly, and how SLPP is going to play out as well. Now they are saying that NPP's favorability has gone down after this LPTA Pradesh Sabha provincial council election, but I don't think the provincial council elections reflect the bigger picture. Certainly, it does not reflect the parliamentary picture. So we have to see how things dynamics play out tomorrow, and how I am concerned how the turnout will be tomorrow, because now this is not people aren't concerned. No one is actually concerned about this election. Even most of the Sri Lankans, they don't know who to vote tomorrow when they go to the polling station. So we have to wait and see how dynamics play out and how these seats are going to be allocated between main parties.
Of course, this is not just between parties, it's also between candidates. And what I'm seeing right now is that there's obviously at a parliamentary election, there's going to be much more of an emphasis than in a presidential election on, the different candidates from the faces of the party, so to speak. How do you think this is going to play out for the NPP and for the SJP? We'll go into the other parties later, but I think this is where the faces matter. So, how do you think? Are we going to see new faces? Are we going to see the same old faces? Of course, with the NPP, we have about 90% of the candidates are new faces. But how do you think? How do you think it'll play out?
Yes, I think it's widely expected that NPP will get at least 130 seats, and most of those seats will be equipped with new faces. Now it will be a mix, not only youth faces but also old and youth. A mix, a mix of both. Old and youth will be in the parliament when it comes to the NPP. But yes, now they have been criticized that they don't have any experience in running the government, and the opposition expects that they won't be able to run this country in the next 12 months, and we'll go into a collapse that we had back in 2022. But I don't believe that, because what NPP needs to do is, even though they will have a mix of both youth and the old, they have to maintain peace and order. They have to make sure that corruption is out from the political system in Sri Lanka, and also it's a clean government, so that even a foreign businessman or a local businessman can do business in Sri Lanka. If they get things right within the government, the private sector will do the job, and you will see Sri Lanka in a better position than what we are right now in the next 2 or 3 years. So the other point is the SJB, how they are going to, even they have fielded new candidates as well. It's not the old guard that we are seeing from the SJB. Yes, it's part of the UNP previously. Now they have also appointed new candidates such as this Charit, who was part of the Sirius TV. He hosted certain events as well on Sirius, and we've seen new candidates being fielded in other provinces as well. So yes, it's a there. Anu Kumar Disanaka has also said in his final meeting that to bring in new candidates even to the opposition. So everyone is expecting some new faces, a new political system, a new government, a new opposition in Sri Lanka. That's why we are seeing new parties coming in. Dilip Jaivira's party, Ranjan Ramanayaka's party, they are trying to bring a new picture even into the opposition, because they see this opportunity as an opportunity to bring something new to the Sri Lankan politics arena, and also to the government as the opposition. So you won't get this chance every time. This is once in a lifetime, and if Sri Lankans are to make the most use of it, now is the right time.
So, in other words, we are going to see a mix, but I think from the NPP, we are going to see a lot of new faces, which brings me to my next question. Okay, fine. So, the SJB is now talking a lot about, the geopolitics of economics. I mean, Sajid Premadasa recently went on an interview and said, with the Trump presidency coming in, there's going to be much more of an emphasis in the US on tariffs and basically protectionism. And that's going to obviously impact Sri Lankan markets.
Yeah.
That is in itself is going to result in Sri Lanka reaching out to other markets, reaching out to other countries, being as multilateral as it can. Do you see either party actually having the sort of initiative to, take that forward? Because we are obviously trying to enter BRICS, and for some reason, like there are rational reasons as to why we weren't able to get in this time, because only so many countries and only so many applications can be sort of processed in one go. And it's not
Yeah.
that our application was wholesale rejected. It's more or less we need time. But we are about to get into the NDB, the BRICS Bank, and so on and so forth. So how do you see these dynamics, those geopolitical dynamics playing out in this election cycle from both the NPP
Yes.
and the SJB?
SJB, I mean, they are a pro. I won't say they are a pro right wing party, but actually more biased towards the right wing, and the NPP more biased towards left wing. But they are also now in the balance approach, taking things in a balanced manner. So if you take the foreign policy aspect, I think NPP they have already said that they are not going to make any major decisions regarding policy, because they don't have a majority as yet. But we will see the majority coming to them on 15. And the special thing is, I think they missed a trick by not going to the Commonwealth as well as the BRICS summit. So it was no the president nor the foreign minister visited the BRICS summit in Kazan. No, I think it was in Russia, right? Yeah, it was in Russia. So it was the foreign secretary who represented Sri Lanka at the summit. So I think the government needs to meet world leaders. Especially, they need to go on these tours and meet the leaders and show them that we are capable of running this government. We are capable of negotiating with other countries as well. So that way, they can build the trust within the global community and the other countries, and make progress and get some foreign direct investments. Now the NPV is saying that they are getting new foreign direct investments into Sri Lanka, but from which countries and how they are going to do it and how it's going to plan out roll out, they haven't mentioned anything about that yet. So they need to make certain things in we need to get certain things in order and make sure and give an assurance to foreign countries that we are capable of balancing other countries, balancing India, balancing China. We can't go straightly direct into China's side or the Indian side. We need to take the balanced approach. We need to work with US, work with European countries, and work with Asian countries, and make and always maintain our non-aligned policy, and make sure that we get Sri Lanka in a better position in the world. And for the SAB, I think they have all they have people who are capable of handling foreign relations, but again they are in the opposition, so I don't think they can make a major impact on a global scale. But yes, they can raise their voices and say that we are going towards this direction and we want this direction. It's the duty of the opposition to show the way that how the government should be run, and they do have people who are capable of understanding global dynamics as well as working with the global institution as well as other countries. But again, still it's a fragmented opposition, and also the government is will be full of new faces. I can't exactly say how it's going to play out, but we have to wait and see. So after 15th, the new government, the new parliament will convene within the next week after the election, and we'll see how things roll out.
I think that's a bit of an interesting take for sure. Obviously, this election is not, it's dominated by the NPP and the SJB on the one hand, but on the other hand, you also have these other parties, the gas cylinder, the Mahojana Janata Party of the Jai leaders. If you could briefly take us through those little parties, little though they may be, I think that we are going to see some faces from those parties as well this time around. I may be wrong, but perhaps it's something that you can touch on as well.
Yeah, if you take the minor parties, I mean the small parties, if you have to take SLPP as well, because they are still they have the majority seats in parliament. They had the majority seats in the parliament, the previous parliament. So, but they were reduced 2.5% of votes in the president election. But they have also feel that new faces like Mahinda Rajapaksa, who are coming and saying that we are going to bring in new things to the party as well as to the government or the opposition. So yes, SAPP also try to bring in some new faces and bring in something new to the parliament. But we have to again, it's not yet tested, and I can't say anything about that. And if I go into the other parties, Sarvajana Bala, which is headed by Dilip Jayavira, they are saying that they are going to bring they are going to prioritize national interest rather than anything, so that they can what their mission was earlier was to create a entrepreneurship. That is still their main mission, but now they are saying that we are going to work based on the national interest and bring in something new. They want they are urging the public to vote, to bring in to vote for them and bring in new faces to the parliament and bring something new to the political culture in Sri Lanka. Same thing is with the Ranjan's party, Ranjan Ramanayaka's party, who have fielded several new candidates as well as known candidates, popular candidates in Sri Lanka, such as Tilakar Dishan, who was a former cricketer, and also certain faces that we have seen on TV. So yes, new parties are coming up with new faces, and you will see. I expect to see a new parliament after 15th, both with the government as well as the opposition. Again, when you have something new, you can't predict what's going to happen in the future.
I think that's the biggest takeaway from this election, the fact that it's all new and we don't know what's obviously going to happen next. But I'd like to pick your brains out on this one. Basically, all like the presidential election was sort of dominated by anti-elite political discourses and so on and so forth. It's a myth to say that it was just the working class that got up and voted for the NPP. It was also the middle class. It was also the peasantry. These are not people who can be identified with just one party or another. It's just that the NPP managed to gain the momentum and get those parties, get those post or rather former Gotabaya Rajapaksa voters into their camp, so to speak. So there are two challenges here. Number one, have they been able to keep up the momentum and satisfy these electorates? Number two, how has their approach to minorities in the north and east changed? So maybe we can wrap up the discussion with your take on those two issues.
You mean the NPP government's approach towards the north and east provinces,
Yes,
right?
that can be the second point. But the first question would be, how well have they maintained that momentum which got them, they didn't get an absolute majority at the presidential election either. They got 42%. for the first time in Sri Lanka's history, I would say since 1977. How do you see that play out at this election cycle in the parliamentary election? Obviously, what happened in the presidential election is not going to happen in the parliamentary election, different dynamics. So maybe you can have a little bit of a take on that.
Regarding the momentum, I think again there's no huge difference between. I won't see a huge difference between the parliamentary election and the presidential election, especially with regard to the outcome. But the momentum is the actions that they have taken during the last last 2 months since they were elected back in September 23rd. So they have done something good. They have done good things. They have reduced prices, especially with regard to fuel, and also they are trying to eliminate this rice mafia that is prevalent in the Sri Lankan market, and that shows that they are capable. They want to eliminate corruption from Sri Lanka, and also from the political and market systems. So yes, they through that I think they have kept their momentum and they have kept their promises so that they can make sure that they get the required votes in the parliamentary elections. And talking about the other topic is that the north provinces, northern and eastern provinces, they admitted that they made a mistake in the presidential election. That's why they didn't get any votes within those in those two provinces. And also now they have, yes, I think they had 2 or 3 meetings in Jaffna and also in Vaunia, and they said that we want Tamil people to contribute to the Sri Lanka's growth and development, and they want to see the northern areas such as Jaffna to develop as what do you call this, develop into the level that we are seeing in Colombo and also in other provinces, so that we can make sure that we have several growth engines in Sri Lanka. And they have maintained that they don't want what they have already said that the past is past. They have moved on from it, and they also opened the that Jaffna road that was, I think, Palal, what was that?
Palani.
Palal road that was closed after 1990. So that was reopened after 34 years. I think that gave them assurance that they have also promised to hand back the lands that were back the lands to the Tamil civilians, which was that they were taken by the government during the war times and also after the war times. Now they are planning on handing them back to the people in the northern and eastern provinces. Yes, they have promised certain things to the people in the north and as well as the east. And again, it's still yet to be tested because they haven't made any policy decisions after the presidential election. So they will make some policy decisions with regard to the north and east after this election. But they have promised, we are taking care of you, we will listen to you, and they want the Tamil people to contribute to Sri Lanka's growth and development so that we can make sure that every civilian is protected and they will be in a better condition in the next 5 years.
Yeah, I think obviously exciting times ahead, but if you look at some of the appointments that the NPP government made under Kumar Dissanayake, the Hulangamua, Hans Vijay Surya, these are not, yesterday's corporate magnates. They are people who have been established since at least the early 2000s, if not before. They've been in the corporate sector since the 1990s. These are veteran figures. What sort of messaging do you think the NPP is putting out by appointing these people? I mean, during the second insurrection, these are the sort of people that they would have branded as enemy number one. But now they're actually going up to them. And it was very clear, even before the presidential election, to me at least, that these were the sort of appointments that they were going to make. Perhaps you can explain a little bit about how they are trying to redefine their profile in that respect.
Yes, it's as simple as I can give is they want capable people to run certain capable government institutions. So they were of the view that that during the presidential election campaign they said that capable people are not handling capable things in Sri Lankan context, especially with regard to government institution and also certain private institutions. So they have maintained that their strategy is to have strategic people in strategic institutions. So yes, they are putting in good people. These are great individuals who have contributed to Sri Lanka's development within the private sector, not within the government capacity. And yes, the NPP wants capable people to run certain government ministries so they can make it efficient and also make it So those institutions develop and grow in the next 5 to 10 years. So we can have those government institutions being efficient and also capable of producing results in the next 5 to 10 years.
So basically, my last question would be: this is a period of transition to the US. The new president is going to sort of take oaths on January 20th.
Yeah.
Um, Possible impacts on Sri Lanka? And on that note, we can probably wrap up the discussion.
Directly, I don't think we'll have any impact. But regard to aid, how Trump is going to roll out his aid plan with the US aid mission, that will have some not a major issue but a minor impact on Sri Lankan context. But what we have to see is how he is going to work with the South Asian leaders, especially with regard to India and Pakistan. So that will have an indirect impact on Sri Lanka, and also how they are going to work with China and how they are going to work, especially with the Chinese economy, how they are going to roll out their plans with the Chinese economy as well as the Indian economy. They are seeing India as a friend and also China as an enemy. So yes, how they take policies on China and India will have China, India, and Pakistan, because they have an impact on the South Asian region as well. So whatever that impact that makes into the South Asian region will have an impact on Sri Lanka as well. And also the wars in Gaza and Ukraine will also have a mind issue again with this tourism and other sectors. We have already felt certain impacts. But yes, so if he ends those two wars, we'll have a peace. We have peace in the Middle East as well as in Russia, so we can do business with them. So those two or three topics will have an impact on Sri Lanka. Other than that, I don't see any impact making being made on Sri Lanka.
Right. And on that note, I think we can wrap up. So, in another 48 hours, we'll know who has won elections in Sri Lanka. The US election, I mean, it was a clean sweep from the very beginning. I mean, a lot of us expected at least 3, 4 days for the clear winner to be announced, but it took barely about 24 hours. Thank you so much, Rumeth, for joining for this episode as well. And thank you all for joining us. We hope to see you again on the other side of the election. Hopefully, a better and more stable country and economy, which is what we all hope for actually at the end of the day. Let's see how things turn out. Thanks a lot, Rumeth.
Thank you, Uditha.